Hello everyone and welcome to Wilson Waffling Live episode 33, recorded on Sunday the 22nd of February 2015. This week's episode is called Placement and Progress. Run titles.
Wilson Waffling.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Wilson Waffling Live, episode 33, like I said in the intro there. And do you want to know, I think that nearly went without a hitch. I really do think it nearly went without a hitch. I'm not too sure whether or not it was totally hitchless, but I might have cut the boring off a bit at the end. But apart from that, I think that was a pretty good one. I think that was pretty good. I'm just checking on things live as we're talking, and I suddenly remembered that I must set up the hashtag. Don't I? I must because I have the hashtag WillWaffLive, and I just noticed that there is nothing actually coming up on this. All right, I'm going to put that on, and I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to create the shot, and I'm going to, oh, I think I've got two shots there. So I'm going to delete that one. So yes, so anyway, I'm going back. So welcome to Wilson Waffling Live, and this week I thought I would talk a bit about placement, because a lot of the third years are currently going off on placement. Well, they've been 3 weeks and they're going back, and the YSJ Primary Ed Society tweeted well, yesterday, I think it was, yes, yesterday, a question, and sort of like said, you know, what would be your advice? What would be your advice? So I thought, right, I will be helpful for once, and I thought I will do today's show based totally on placement. And so if you're watching this live and you want to ask me any questions about placement, then you can do one of two things. You can either pop along to Twitter, and you can contact me on Twitter via the hashtag via @iWilsonYSJ, and you can just tweet me the question, what you would like to know about placement, any advice, etc. Or the other thing that you could do is just tweet with the hashtag WillWaffLive, and we can actually then I'll see that, and I can see it, and we can do something about it, and I can answer your question. Alternatively, what will probably happen throughout this show is that we'll probably just sit and I'll probably just chat to you. But and just see how it goes. But if you do want any questions answered, then pop along and do ask me. Now then, while we're doing that, we have to have a chat, do we not, about what's been going on in the wonderful world of Wilson Waffling this week. So I'm going to zoom over, and here we go. So here we are on wilsonwaffling.co.uk, and the first thing I would like to say is that I'm having a bit of a problem. You might notice, especially if I just zoom in here, there is something missing from here. Something missing. The leveling up bit has gone. I'm sorry, it has died a death. Well, it hasn't died a death. Something has happened, and I'm not too sure what to do with it or how to deal with it at the present moment in time. And I got very stressed out on Saturday, and Saturday was not the best of days to sort it out, and I got very stressed out about it. Anyway, I worked on it, and in the end I was backwards and forwards via emails with the software company who I was using for the leveling, is called Captain Up. And I just thought after a while, this is it. I'm not going to be engaging with them anymore. I just thought I can't. And so what I just thought I just stopped and put it to one side to see what happens. So that is why if you've been along to the website and you've been thinking, where's that leveling up gone? It's gone. It's completely gone and disappeared. So just so you know, it might come back, it might not, but I am working on something new and something different, which will still be badges and open badges, but hopefully a little bit more engagement with the badges, which hopefully will be good. So anyway, that's that. Now then, the other thing that I did, this was last week's Wilson Waffling Live, and then throughout the week I did Wilson Waffling Does Apps, and I talked about Pocket. And Pocket is an app that I use a lot of the time, and I use it to sort of like grab articles and web pages and things I want to read but don't have time to read, so I stick it into Pocket. My Pocket is on my iPad and on my iPhone and on the web, and it allows me to do those things when it's read later, when you put it away and you go and read it later, and you don't you don't have time to engage with it, so you just leave it. And Pocket's a really good application to allow that to happen. And you can see here, I show. Hello everyone, and welcome to this Wilson Waffling Does Apps. And this episode of Wilson Waffling Does Apps, we're going to be looking at an application called Pocket. And you can see, there you go, web page. So if you're looking for something an application that to sort of grab, so you can sort of like keep stuff for reading later, and then Pocket might be the thing for you. And the other thing I will say, I love the tagging feature of it, and this allows you to tag things as you save them, and then what you can do is it's very easy to search or go back and have a look at what you're actually wanting to view. Now then, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was, oh, hang on, I'm just zipping back. Did you notice anything? I got some ratings. Look, let's just zoom. Oops, let's just zoom in on this. Here, look, ratings. Woohoo! 1 vote of 2 ratings. So if you click the up thing, I get 2 stars, and if you click the down, you get 1. Okay, no nothing in my game. So somebody liked it. Hooray! I was so chuffed about that. It's really nice to get feedback like that. So what else has happened on Wilson Waffling? Well, also today today of course Wilson Waffling went out, and it was today I wrote a post about progression, and one of the things that I really sort of like are keen on in education is this idea of progression, and the fact that I feel that everybody should actually progress. And I don't know whether or not it's sort of like left over from my primary school days, when I was teaching in primary school, when everything was rated on progression, but I often wonder in education, higher education, where this progression comes from now, and also who is actually responsible for it. So what I wrote about or waffled about was this idea that first of all, who is responsible for this progression? Is it tutors who are responsible for it, or the actual student learners? And I think for me the most important thing is that it's more the learners. And you know, we almost like get straitjacketed as we move up through education, and we're also sort of like pushed in the same direction a lot of the time. And I think one of the joys of working in higher education or learning in higher education is this idea that you you're more independent. Your learning is more to do with what you want to learn or how you want to engage with it. So I think when it comes down to the question whether or not it's students or tutors, I think it's probably both of us. And I think what, as a tutor, what I have to do is provide opportunities for progression and or differentiation, and well, the actual choice lies with the student, and the student can actually decide what they want to do and when they want to do it. Now, the second sort of like subtitle I talked about was progression in sessions, and this is really interesting for me, because this is when I think that it's important for me to provide opportunities for progression. And it's sort of like, to me, there's sort of like the main learning within the session, but then there's sort of like those two extremes that we have to deal with. And one of them is the extreme that learners who are moving themselves up to the learning, and then the other extreme is the learners who are moving beyond that. And I talk about in here the idea that there's almost like this opportunity, this opportunity for questions and key questions to sort of like consolidate their learning. And this is the time that I can sort of like tutors and learners can interact with each other and pose these questions or ask questions for either clarification or to sort of like promote learning. And the other thing that is really, I'm sort of like almost like passionate about is, and I was in school as well when I used to do a lot of work about leading teacher intervention, is not necessarily the special needs or the children with specific learning difficulties. It was more the gifted and talented. And for this, I use what I call or what I've termed matrix questions. Matrix questions. Now, if you've seen The Matrix and with Keanu Reeves, etc., then you may be aware of this already. But if not, there's a wonderful scene there when they are Morpheus and Neon are sparring in like a computer program, and they're sparring away, and Morpheus is actually slaughtering him. And then at one point he says, he almost like says, why can't you beat me? And Neon, is that his name, Neon? Yeah, I've posted it. I'm sure, is that his name? I hope it is, because otherwise the whole waffle's wrong. And he says, and I'm quoting a film that I don't actually know the character's name. Anyway, he says, you're too fast. And Morpheus sort of like responds and says, in this place, is speed anything to do with your muscles? But then he says the immortal words of, is that air you are breathing? And he goes, And that to me is matrix questions. And to me, in order to challenge learners, I use matrix questions. And these questions are the sort of like, are you sure? Or would that always work? Or how about this? Or I say a situation and leave it. And it's the point that I'm not expecting these matrix questions to sort of like be answered straight away. I want people to go away and think about them and then come back. And a lot of the time it works, and hopefully it works. And a lot of the time it's sort of like, it's made, it's almost like promotes that learning, promotes that thought. I must say at sometimes students just sort of like respond, oh, that makes my head hurt. It's a bit like, how big is actually the universe? Anyway, the final thing I talk about progression is progression beyond the session, and whether or not what do we do beyond the actual session? How do we promote progression outside the actual session? Almost like asynchronous learning. And one of the things I talk about is this idea that we often put the further reading or the independent activities at the end of the slideshow, just when everybody's packing up ready to go. And I never feel that I do enough with these, and I never feel that I sort of like engage enough with these, or actually it's sort of like participate with them. And I think some of this might be my own practice, in the sense that I need to sort of like leave more time, and other parts of me sort of like think, oh, you know, perhaps it's just a case that people are not interested, or sort of like not sort of like too busy with other things, especially if there's assignments and things like that. So sometimes I'm not too sure. But the idea that what I would love to do is that I would love to actually set up something that actually like a further reading club that people can actually come to and sit down and join in. That would be fantastic, you know, and actually engage just with thinking and learning beyond the point. But I don't know whether or not that's either practical in the sense of either attendance or time. I don't know whether or not I have enough time or not. I just noticed something. I'm just going to zip across, because one thing I did do, I did advertise tonight's session on Facebook and etc. So if anybody did want to come along, they could come along and sort of like have a join in. But I just noticed, look, what a wonderful primary ed society we have, because the president, good luck tomorrow, half term ends, SE3, head out to your final 25 days before having a class of your own. I'm not here to be average, I'm here to be awesome. Sorry, you can't say. Isn't that a wonderful thing? And yes, you are there to be awesome. You are there to be awesome. So just to sort of like finish off this segment, one of the other things that I must say is that, you know, this idea of a further activities club, you know, the idea of Google Hangouts and Skypes is sort of like really important here, and also tweet chat, and hopefully I'll be working on a lot of these in the module, in my current mathematics module. So that was this week's Wilson Waffling. Now then, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start talking about placement. I'm just going to check Twitter. No, nothing up on Twitter, nothing up on Facebook at the moment. So I'll just check Wilson Waffling. No questions. No. So anyway, let's talk about let's talk about placement, because I often get asked, you know, advice for placement, and I think I remember going on placement, and I remember all three of my placements. So my first one was at a local school in York, and the second one was over the other side of York. I was really lucky. I had all my placements in York, but I think there was less of us, and it was less of a problem to get placements then. But one of the things I do remember is sort of like leading up to placement. Now, the first thing I must say is that placement has changed so much, in the sense that I remember my first ever placement, I had to teach a group of English and a group of maths every day, and then every afternoon I had to teach. That was sort of like the requirement. There was no PPA time, there was no CPD time or anything like that. So I was literally working start of day to the end of day by myself in a school. But in the English and mathematics, I only took one group, and that was it. So I had sort of like 6 children, not the whole class. And the other thing I have to say about placement at this time was everything was still in paper. So there was sort of like no computer printouts or anything like that. Everything was done on paper, and the paper was in a folder. And I used to have an A4 paper that I used to buy, and a session plan used to be 2 sheets of A4 paper, and it used to be front, big spread, back. So front was all the contextual information, then the big spread was the actual lesson, and then on the back was the evaluation. And that's each year. So Is that the same itchy ear? What does an itchy ear mean? Does it mean that I'm going to, somebody's talking about me? Is that, am I going to get money if I have an itchy ear? Because I always have an itchy ear while I'm doing this. But I think in the past it's been the other one. It could just be these headphones. Aren't these headphones huge? Absolutely huge. This mic's not, oh sorry, this mic's not working, by the way. I'm using my other mic, my Blue Yeti mic. So placement was sort of like really sort of like paper based and involved, and I was trying to think of 3 pieces of advice that I would give anybody going on placement. And initially this was sort of like on school placement, but I would think it is on any placement at all, and whenever you're dealing with people or dealing with children or anything like that. So I think my first bit of advice would always be a bit like Boy Scouts or Girl Guides or whatever: be prepared. And it seems a little bit obvious, but being prepared not only in your lesson plans, but being prepared in yourself, and you know, having everything organized before the first day, all your files set up, everything labeled, knowing about the school, knowing how you're going to get there, knowing the school routine, being prepared like that, but also being prepared mentally as well, and knowing that you're going to have a period of time that is going to be hard work and timing. And I think that's, you have to organize yourself and prepare yourself mentally for that. And you know that during that time you're going to be stressed, you're going to be working a lot, and you're going to struggle at times and have high moments and low moments, but essentially you're prepared for that, and you've sort of like thought about the journey, and not necessarily ticking off the day, but progressing as you go through it. So that if you're not prepared, I think anything like placement is difficult. Now, the second thing that I would say to you about placement is have confidence. And I really do think that is key, in the sense that, you know, especially if you're on your final placement, you have been trained to do the job. You have been trained, and you have had nearly 3 years of training behind you from other professionals. And yes, the school might do things differently, and there might be different organizational tactics or strategies or behavior strategies, but you are trained, and you should have confidence in yourself to go out and do that job, you know. And if you've paid attention in sessions and you've done all the work and you've read all the books, then, and that comes back to that being prepared, then you should have confidence, and you should go in not thinking this is a placement. You should be going in thinking, this is my job, my job, I'm a professional, and I'm going to go in there. Now, my third piece of advice, and I've got lots of advice, but my third piece has to be about assessment. And I actually tweeted this yesterday as well, because assessment to me is not a bolt-on. And a lot of the times people see assessment that you sort out your planning, you sort out your teaching, and then all of a sudden you think, oh, I need to do some assessment. And to me, effective teaching and planning cannot occur without assessment. You need that assessment. You need to know everything about where the children are, their prior learning, what they need to learn, how they learn, everything like that before you're planning. So if you are starting placement or about to start placement, then go in and find out about the children. Find out what they've learned. How did they learn it? How do they respond best to different types of learning situations? How do they engage with learning? And pick out all those points, all those key things, to sort of like then produce that learning package, that learning opportunity. And then at the end of that, embed within that lesson assessment opportunities, so you can then plan the next lesson. And I think to me, assessment is often not seen as the key thing, but to me, and with learning and everything, it's the priority. It has to be. Now I'm waffling on. Let's just I wanted to check two things. I'm just going to we're just going to zip across to the chat. We had quite a lot of people in the chat last week. Well, two. No, there looks like there's two people there, but there's not. That's actually me twice. So no one in the chat this week. That's a shame, isn't it? We did so well last week. So well last week. I've just checked to see how many people are watching. And one person is watching. One person is watching, which is me. And that's it. So no chatters today. That's a shame. No chatters today. And just while we're here, we better just zoom across to Twitter just to see whether or not anybody has anything on Twitter. No. Oh, look. There's a picture of me and my niece at the gym. Me with funny hair or funnier hair. No questions or anything on Twitter. We better just try the hashtag will waff live. Nothing today so far. Well, there is something. 59 minutes ago, somebody was trying to get a badge, which is coming up soon. That's coming into the end. I'll mention that at the end. But no other questions. So that's fine. That's fine. We're fine. We're not worried about anything. So I can just carry on chatting. So we've talked about being prepared, and we've talked about being confident, and we've talked also about being about assessment and the importance of assessment. Now, there's two other things that I would say is really important. Number one, no, one out of the next two. So this is point number 4. Make sure you keep healthy. Okay, now imagine that you're going on an expedition. Placement is like an expedition. Okay, you prepare everything, like I said before, preparation number 1. You prepare yourself mentally, which is number 2, and that's to do with confidence. You sort of like, the assessment is there, your planning is there, and then you have to start. And it's a bit like going on an expedition. You have to ensure that you are fit and well and healthy. So one thing that I would say to you is try to plan your days so you get sleep and you eat. Okay, and try to take some time out at the school lunch hour that you actually go to the staff room and you actually sit down and take some time out. And at the end of the day, I always used to sit down at the end of the day and go and have a cup of tea or cup of hot water and then go back and start my work. And there's that time to wind down a bit before you start. Plan your day so you know what you're doing, when you're doing it, and try to last the expedition. So keep yourself healthy. Orange juice, keep vitamin C up because you're going to get ill. Now go off and get the important things that you need for placement, i.e. paracetamol, Lemsip, diarrhea tablets just in case you get a stomach bug, head lice, stuff for your hair. Get all that now, get it all ready, get it all to one side just in case. Because believe me, or also get a whole load of soup in just in case. But you want to get all that done now before you start. So if anything does go wrong, you're not worried about it or fretting or trying to sort of like get it sorted at the last minute. Now, I think that sort of like sums up my placement. Oh, there is one thing. I knew there was one more thing. Enjoy it. This is your chosen profession. This is what you enjoy doing. And can I say that teaching is not easy, and it is not for the faint-hearted. And if you think you're going to teach and not be tired and not be overworked, then you're in the wrong profession. Teaching is hard work, but teaching is also very rewarding if you put in that time and effort. And even though I am sometimes stressed or tired or fed up with work, which is teaching, as soon as I'm actually teaching, as soon as I'm actually in the room teaching, then that is the best thing. That is the bit that I enjoy. That is the bit that I really enjoy and I love doing. And yes, sometimes it goes wrong and it gets us upset or disappointed, but overall, enjoy it, because this is the profession that you want to be in, and that's important. Now then, before we finish, because that's half an hour, where does the time go? Where does the time go? I would just like to bring some things to your attention, because it's near the end and I can't seem to find it. I'd just like to remind you that at the end of this month, the Waffling badge comes, the winner, I Waffled with Wilson badge comes to an end. Okay, so there's only 6 days left for this. 6 days and the competition will cease and it will stop. So if you're interested in trying to get I Waffled with Wilson badge, then watch the video how to do it. And then there's 6 days left of the competition. So please go and try to get that sorted. Try to get some entries in. Now, we're going to come to that point that I don't know whether or not anything is going to be on here, but I do always have to make sure that we go over to the Ask Waffling Wilson app to see, and there might be a whole lot. Oh, do you wonder? I just had a thought. I wonder if there's a whole lot of placement questions on here. If there is, this is going to be a long show. Anyway, let's go for it. Let's go and ask Waffling Wilson.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is...
Ask Waffling Wilson.
Please note, the new number is...
Ask Waffling Wilson.
Hello?
Hello, and I'm back. So, remember, if you would like to ask me a question anytime, then this is the website to go on, or there is a link on the navigation on my webpage called Ask Me. So, and by all means, throughout placement, if you've got anything that you would like to ask me, then do so. Right. Oh, do you know, I should have checked this beforehand, shouldn't I? No, the thing is, nobody's going to ask me a question on here. So, oh. Do you want to know? No, do you know? I don't know whether or not these are all quite... There must be. Right, here we go. Do you know? Look, I've got lots of questions. Oh, you can't see. Lots of questions. Right, here we go. Done that. Right. Can science and religion ever live side by side? Ooh. I wonder if that's a question of the day or somebody actually asked me that. Oh, that's a difficult one. Well, you know, let's take something. First of all, you have to understand something. Okay, then. To me, science is an understanding of what we know now. Okay, so that's what science for me is all about. And I was just watching the just before I came on the show, I was watching the television and there was an advert for the solar system, and it was saying that we're going to have a look at the new solar system, and that there's something that we might have got wrong for a long time. And to me, that's really interesting. You know, that's sort of like the science that we know now might be wrong, we might be changing it, and that's what I really like. Now, if you take something like that, often say we talk about the creation of the universe. Okay, science has an explanation for it, although it might not be the right explanation, but it's what the evidence suggests, and people are happy with that, and there's still a lot of debate about it, but that's what we think. Now, to me, religion might have a different view of it, or a different view of evolution or things like that, and that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. I think religion, science and religion do sit next to each other, because we're in a world now when they are both working together. You know, they're both living together, and religion has a lot of interesting points. And I mean, I don't want to start discussing the afterlife and things like that, but you know, some of the criteria for perfect living, I completely agree with. I mean, it's not necessarily to do with science, but I think science really, I agree with those sort of like that standpoint. So I think science and religion do live side by side. I don't feel that they're necessarily opposed, although sometimes they do, and I think it's down to people's perceptions and people's understanding. Was that a bit of sitting on the fence answer? It might have been, but I'm not very good with religion, to be honest with you. Okay, next one. Have you ever read Dan Brown books? Yes. Do you know, I really like Dan Brown's books, and I'm just trying to think of the ones I have read. And I have read The Da Vinci Code, I read Deception Point, I've read Angel and Demons, I've read Digital Fortress, I've read The Lost Symbol, I've read, and Inferno. Now, is that them all? Have I actually read them all? I've just nipped up onto Google, and I think I've read them all. Da Vinci Code I've read, Deception Point, Angels and Demons, Digital Fortress, The Lost Symbol, and Inferno. And I read Inferno, and Inferno is that wonderful thing when there's I think it's called a parody. I'm not or dilemma or something like, when they say there's something like if you pressed a button and 20% and it killed 20% of the world's population, but the rest is saved, but you don't know which 20% it's going to kill, so it could kill you, could kill your loved ones, whatever, would you do it? And I think that comes into game theory, actually. And I think that was one of the best. I actually stopped the book at that point and listened to it. So yeah, remember, this sounds really bad now, I don't actually read books. I've listened to all those on audiobook, which is fantastic. I love audiobook. Audible.co.uk. Yeah, so yes, I have. I must bring this up to date. History or geography, and why? This one's an easy one. This one is an easy one. Geography. Because this is when I get slated. I can just imagine the comments for this one. Geography. And I know somebody who teaches geography, and he's probably thinking, oh, you don't like geography at all, Ian. But I do like geography. And the reason I like geography, I think it's almost like a mixture of mathematics and science together. And things like physical geography I love, and maps I love, and scales and things like that. So definitely geography. History, I do like ancient history. Okay, I do like ancient history, but before that, archaeology. I often wish I was an archaeologist. That would have been cool. So yeah, so geography, because it's linked to mathematics and science and has a purpose, but I didn't say that. Do you ever plan to return to teaching in the primary school? Ooh, what a good question. What a good question. You know, have you ever moved on from something, and you leave something and you go to a new school or you go to a new job, and a lot of people say to you then, don't go back, don't go back. And I do go back to my old school, St Oswald's, and I've been back to Waffling Wilson as well. But a lot of the time when you remember it how it was and not how it is. And, you know, I think looking back on teaching in primary school, I sort of like remember all the fun times and all the great times and the times that I loved and really enjoyed and the eventful times. But I don't remember any of the bad points now very much. And I sort of like have to really think about it. And I think, although I love I really do, and I know it sounds really cliche and pathetic, but I really love teaching and learning. And I think wherever I was doing it, I would enjoy doing it. And even if I was sat here every night or every day teaching visual via technology to people, then I would still love it. So answer the question, at the present moment in time, I've got no plans to. But you never know what's down the road. You know, you never know. And you know, if my job at higher education stopped, then and somebody said you need to go back into teaching primary school kids, then that's what I would do, and I would enjoy it just as much as I did beforehand. So these are good questions, whoever's been asking these questions. I've never had so many. Favourite year group and why? Oh, now I really like year fives. I do like year fives. They're at that point when they are they don't have the attitude of year sixes, but they are progressing and they've got the basics now. And I do like year fives, but I must say my favourite age group to teach ever has been year 3-4. I just love it to bits, and I love the changes that occur in those children between starting year 3 and finishing in year 4 is immense. And they come up from the infants into Key Stage 2 as year 3s, and you know, it's unbelievable what the changes in them intellectually, and maturity is vast. So perhaps year 3-4-5, or 3-4-5. We'll go for 3-4-5. And the question of the day will you watch the Oscars? You know, I just noticed that they were down at the in the student union. You can go watch the Oscars, and I thought, oh, I should go and do that, but I don't like going to student union. I often think that it's sort of like the student's place and not my place. But anyway, I thought I've got a 9 o'clock lecture tomorrow, so I'm just making sure that all you first years in my 9 o'clock lecture are there tomorrow. So can I just say, fantastic questions. Fantastic. I've never had so many questions. Thank you so much for that. It makes me feel wanted and valued. So let's just finish today's show off, because it's been going for nearly 45 minutes, so this is going to be an epic one. So by all means, keep an eye out. If you go along and have a look at my badges, keep sending these questions. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to ask me anything or contact me through the show, then please do so. And there's some people who are asking for some interviews, which I'm hopefully going to set up. And the radio show's still on its way. Hopefully that'll be up soon, and hopefully pretty soon there will be a new levelling, or the old levelling system, back on wilsonwaffling.co.uk. So hope you've enjoyed this show, and if you're listening to it live, then that is absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. And if you're not, if you're watching the recording, then please don't forget to subscribe or press the like button, and that would be fantastic, and I really do appreciate it. So that's it for now. So without further ado, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will if you're going on placement, good luck, keep in touch, and if you're not, I'll see you tomorrow for lectures. Okay, have a fun time everyone. Catch you all later. Wilson Waffling signing out. Bye.